All right, how's it going? Welcome to Ask Admissions Live. We are excited to be with you here on what I am calling College Money Monday. You like that? I came up with that about 10 minutes ago, and I thought that's what I'm going to say. So here we are. We're so excited to have our friends from financial aid here to tell you all about financial aid, demystify the process for you, just make this an easier going college process, right? So my name is Jordan Stevenson. I'm the Executive Director of Admissions and New Student Programs, and I am excited to have my friends with me today, so I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves, and then we will get to news from the nest.
My name is Karen Ruhlman. I'm the Assistant Vice President for the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. I've been with the office off and on for 9.5 years, in this position for 2, and in financial aid for 17 overall.
I'm Sarah Baumhoff. I am Director of Student Support in the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid. I've been here at KSU 11.5 years and been doing financial aid longer than I want to talk about.
Sounds fine to me. Noted. No problem. That is your prerogative. I love it. Okay, welcome everybody. Again, news from the nest. We just had an open house. Thank you, Sarah, for participating in an open house. We have an awesome open house this past Saturday here in Kennesaw. We have 3 more open houses, so 2 on our Marietta campus and 1 more here on the Kennesaw campus coming up. Both, we have another one here in February, 2 in March, so check out our open house website if you want to come. It's a great day to do everything. You get to come, you get to talk to financial aid and scholarships, you get to hear from professors and academic advisors and folks all around the campus. You get to take a campus tour, see housing, eat in our dining facilities, do the whole thing, and really figure out, is KSU your future home, or as we like to say, are you going to join the nest? So this nest, home, owls, yada, yada, you get it. All the connector pieces. So we would love to have you at an open house where you get to do everything. So sign up. We're going to post the sign up here in the chat. So make sure you check the chat. And we're both here on Facebook as well as YouTube. Check it out. Okay, other stuff going on. We are still test optional in admissions for fall 2023. So what does that mean? If you're in high school, you've yet to apply, you can apply to the university. And if you have a 3.2 academic GPA, you do not need to submit test scores. Now, I still recommend that you test. You take the SAT and or the ACT. It's good for some scholarships. You need it for some scholarship consideration, and then also it's good if you want to be considered for the Zell Miller Scholarship here in the state of Georgia if you're a Georgia resident. So keep those things in mind. Make sure you're testing if that's what you want to do, and test early and test often. This especially goes for juniors and sophomores that are out there and you're watching this and preparing for the future. So 3.2 academic GPA, you don't need test scores to be considered for admission. If you have below a 3.2 academic GPA, then you do need test scores, SAT and or ACT, and we'll consider you that way. Other cool things that are going on. So we have some big deadlines coming up, and that's a big reason why this is College Money Monday. We have the FAFSA deadline coming up for KSU very soon. It's March the 1st, so less than a month away. You've got to get your FAFSA in. We had a lot of FAFSA questions over the weekend. Sarah was really thankful she got to be here. Thank you, Sarah. And then we expect a lot more going through this month as we creep up on the deadline. So FAFSA, March the 1st, deadline for KSU. Get it in. So that financial aid can do all of the hard work that they need to do behind the scenes to get your package ready and get you ready for the fall. The other thing is scholarships. So our internal scholarships, we've got Scholarship Universe as a great resource for you. We're going to talk about some of that today. The scholarship deadline is March the 1st as well. So make sure you're paying attention to those things. If you're an admitted student out there and you haven't even seen Scholarship Universe, right? That means you're not opening your emails we're sending you and text messages and all the great things that our financial aid office does. But please, please, please log in, check it out, see what's required of you as a student. And one of the things I love about working with these wonderful professionals is that they do everything they can do to make the process as simple and straightforward as possible, removing a lot of barriers out of your way. That's what's great about our partnership with Scholarship Universe. That's what's great about our financial aid office. So we're excited about having them here. And I want to jump in and let's just get talking about financial aid. So if you have questions about financial aid and scholarships, please post it in the chat. We've got Emily here. She's awesome. She's going to let us know when we have some questions. and we will answer those questions live. That's what's great about joining an Ask Admissions Live is you get to ask live and get your answers live. Pretty cool. So, number one, we were talking about this earlier. Help people understand what's the optimal timeline if they're, whether they're, let's say, a parent or maybe even the student, they're in high school, walking into their senior year, preparing for college. What's the optimal timeline to do everything financial aid related so that they're set up for success going into college?
Well, ideally, we'd like to have your FAFSA as early as possible. So in an ideal world, while March 1st is our priority deadline, the sooner you get it to us, the sooner we can go through it and see if there are any issues. If we have any problems, then we can actually reach out to our students and make sure that everything is done and complete and ready to go by the time we are getting ready to award our students for fall. We typically award mid-March. So the sooner the better.
Got it.
But yeah, if you give it to us by March 1, we can get what we need done so that we're prepared by the time you actually start classes.
The early bird gets the worm.
Yes.
That's what I always think of, that old adage that your grandma or your grandpa said to you. We don't really use it much anymore, but I think it's true, right? It's first come, first serve, early bird gets the worm. It's not that you're necessarily not going to get financial aid, but why delay the process? That's what I always talk about, right? No matter if you're coming to us or you're going to another institution, you've got to fill out the FAFSA. You've got to take all the appropriate steps. So we really appreciate that, and I think that it's helpful for the folks to know too, looking mid-March. So for somebody that's already done all of that, and they're now in this, we're a little over a month out.
Right.
They're in this waiting game, if you will. When the financial aid award actually comes out and a student can see their package, what do you recommend they do? What are we telling them to do? Try to ease their minds that are out there as they're prepping for mid-March.
We want you to read it. I mean, first and foremost, read through it. And then if you have questions, reach out to us. The award packages typically have loans. For some students, they'll have grants. For other students, they'll have the Hope or the Zell Miller Scholarship. And then we won't find out about the final scholarships for Scholarship Universe or the KSU institutional scholarships usually until the end of April. But reach out and start asking us questions. Start asking us, what are my charges going to look like? How does this fit in? How is the award package split? Like we try to preemptively state those things, but sometimes it's just good to call us.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And I like that we're doing it earlier, right? Because I know y'all are working your tails off, but it gets even busier as we get closer to the beginning of the semester, as we get closer to payment deadline and things like that. Of course, all these other transitions are happening for students and for families. You're worried about moving in, you're worried about making sure you have the right, size fitted sheets, those kinds of things. And gosh, I looked back, I had the ugliest sheets. I didn't care, but I remember they were like green and brown, and I just don't even, I'm thinking, what did my parents think? It was my mom, but I was like, what were we thinking when we bought these god-awful sheets? But anyways, you're worried about that stuff.
Right. Well, and
right?
I think, if you have your FAFSA here, you get your award notification in March, you'll get a revision if you get a scholarship from the institution. It'll get added on there to go ahead and start looking at cost. And I know it seems, early, but if it doesn't cover everything, start exploring the options of how you're going to cover the gap. Or make sure you know what the requirements are for our payment plan if you want to do that by the time fall gets here. Graduation coming up, if they're graduating, all the other things are obviously top of mind, but if you can know where you stand financially, okay, we know we've got to do this come August, then we're good.
Nice.
And I cannot say strongly enough, reach out to your financial aid counselor. So here at Kennesaw, we have a lot of counselors, and they are split by last name, and it is a wonderful team of people who are equipped to actually help you, talk you through the process, give you peace of mind. It's a great group. It's the group that Sarah manages. It's a great group of people who are really, really trained to help you through everything.
That's awesome. Can we talk a little bit about federal aid? Karen, you started to mention grants, loans. scholarships, work study, different things, but help people. I think people many times when they just think of financial aid, they know of grants, they know of loans, they also lump scholarships in, right? Just help them. What's each thing mean? Grants, different loans, subsidized, unsubsidized, those kinds of things. Parents versus students. Give just a kind of an elevator pitch, if you will,
Sure.
of what it is.
Sure. So we have two very large aid programs that we run within our office. They're the state programs and then the federal programs. So within the federal programs, there's the Pell Grant, which is what a lot of students see, or the SEOG grant. That is need-based, and grants are free money, so that does not have to be repaid. With loans, there are subsidized and unsubsidized direct loans for students. These are done through the federal government. The interest rates are pretty low on those, and the repayment terms are actually pretty generous for our students. Those are loans. They do have to be repaid. They do require a master promissory note, entrance counseling, and for the student to actually accept them. So we will never accept a loan on the student's behalf. Free money, we will absolutely say yes for you. But with a loan, that is actually debt that you're taking on.
Can I jump in and
Sure.
ask a question? I love that you just said that because I think it is still something that's not known out there as prevalently as it should be, that the student actually has to accept it.
Correct.
What's that process like? I know a lot of times what we hear is that students see, oh, okay, I've got this great financial aid package, wonderful, and then they're not. It's almost like they're blinded by, okay, great, I'm gonna have school taken care of. That's a lot of stress off of me, but they forget to go in and accept the loan. So how do they do that for us?
So they would log into their Owl Express account. So once you're admitted, you have an Owl Express account. They would log in. They would click on financial aid and then the awards. And then there's literally a button that says accept, decline, or they can actually reduce the amount. So if a student feels like, okay, that's way too much money, I don't need that, they can always reduce that as well. Within the acceptance process, we actually give the student links to do entrance counseling and the master promissory note. So we do let them know up front, these are additional things that are required to be completed.
Okay. And then you said one other thing, sorry, and then I'll let you get back into what you were saying. You talked about need-based. What does that mean for folks out there that may not recognize that term?
So when a student completes a FAFSA, when a family completes a FAFSA, it throws a number out there at the end, and this is called the expected family contribution. Now, this doesn't mean this is what you have to pay towards the education. This is just an index that's used by us to determine if the types of awards that you will receive are need-based or not. Need-based aid would be grants, so you have to have need, and then subsidized loans, but non-need-based would be unsubsidized or Parent Plus loans.
Got it. That's nice. Okay.
And then parents can get Parent Plus loans. Those are loans within the parent's name, and they would apply for that through studentaid.gov, let us know what the maximum amount they would want, and then we would look at that in conjunction with the aid package to determine how much they can actually receive.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully that's cleared some things up. It's probably created more questions. So I think we have one now. Okay.
Yes, so we do have a couple of questions. So Shannon says, referring to the FAFSA, she says, it's filled out, so what do you mean by give it to you? So what do you mean by, how do you turn in the FAFSA?
It's a good way. I love that. I love the way they're asking that.
So when you complete a FAFSA, you list schools that were to receive it. And so you need to list KSU's school code on there. If you don't know our school code, which is 001577, you can search by name. And if you put in Georgia or if you put in Kennesaw, it will pop up and then you send us the FAFSA. If you're not sure if your student sent it to us, or you're the student, you're not sure, you can see it on AliExpress if we have it under that financial aid tab. You also can go back to studentaid.gov where you filled out the FAFSA and it will show you all the schools that you sent it to.
Nice. So on the FAFSA, that portion, when they select the institution, let's just say they pick Kennesaw State, because Shannon, obviously you want to go to KSU, we're your only choice, and it's awesome, and we love you, and we'll see you here. But so there's like a button that says like, send it, like complete, it says something.
So
it's probably very boring, but it's like.
Once you hit the school code and you hit submit, then it says
submit.
it's done.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so look for that.
Cool.
Good question.
Okay. I also dropped the link for that. I'm very impressed that you had that code off the top of your head. All right.
I think Sarah knows that code probably
Forward,
better than her kids' socials.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, our second question is, can you get Zell if you are already a student at KSU?
Good question.
No, you cannot. So the way the program currently works is that you have to be designated a Zell Miller Scholar when you graduate from high school. So you can't earn it later. Now, I'm going to say there's a caveat on that because there's always a caveat. For the past few years, our General Assembly has had things come up where they look at changes to both Hope and Zell Miller Scholarship programs. So you never know if something might change, but as it stands today, what is written in law is that you have to be a Zell Miller Scholar when you graduate from high school. You want to talk about those while we're there?
Yeah, sure. So when you're in high school, if you're a Georgia resident attending a Georgia high school, when you're getting ready to graduate, you're qualified for Hope. Matter of fact, for instance, I went to Walton High School in Marietta, and our counseling staff would send all of our high school transcripts to Georgia Student Finance. Georgia Student Finance does the Hope GPA calculation. They're looking at the courses you took in high school that qualify for Hope or Zell Miller consideration, I should say, and/or Zell Miller consideration, and they're ultimately qualifying you as eligible under this program. So honestly, we've all been very blessed to be in the state of Georgia. This program is the oldest statewide scholarship program in the nation, which is exciting to have benefited from that and be a part of it, and it's absolutely helped our institutions, and more importantly, it's helped you, the public, our students, and to make our state better. So you're qualified for Hope and/or Zell. Zell has a SAT or ACT component to it. So you need to score a certain level along with a 3.7. Yes, sorry, in my brain I was about to say 3.6, and then remembered that's not it. So 3.7 GPA, and then just for regular Hope, it's a 3.0. GPA, and then you're looking at a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT.
Very good. Give you a job.
Thank you.
You
Hey.
can work with
Come
us.
on over.
Okay, don't tell Jackie. So, okay, no, I did not say that. I was going to say, you know me, I'm always making jokes. So that was funny. Good job, Sarah. You threw me off. I love it. But I think I'm trying to remember our difference. So we try to talk to parents and families about, Zell's great. Like if you get Zell, hey, that's awesome, and congratulations. But the difference between having Zell and Hope is $18 a credit hour,
That's right.
something like that. Yeah. So it's not, it adds up. But for a 3 credit hour class, you're talking about $54.
Right.
So I'm pretty good with math. It's my religion degree prepared me well for math. But simple math, I'm good at. Like my kid's 4th grade homework right now, I'm okay. But once she gets into middle school, forget it. I'm toast. But that's not, it's money, but it's not a ton of money.
Right.
So if you have either scholarship, that's fantastic.
Yes.
Just maintain it.
Exactly.
Keep it. Yes. And we have a lot of resources here, a lot of people that want to help you keep it.
Right.
So that's one of the great things too about our institution. We really want to help you go to college for the least amount of money as possible and get a really good education. And that's something that we've done really good at for a long time. Yeah. Cool.
I've got another question
okay.
From Karen. Do Hope and Zell have a separate application than what's in FAFSA?
Oh, that's a great question.
So you can do either.
Right.
There is another application, but you aren't required to complete both. So if you have a FAFSA on file, it serves as your application for Hope or Zell Miller. But if you do complete the FAFSA, then you have to do it every year to keep getting the scholarships. The state also has a application that's called a GSF app that's located on the GA Futures website, and you complete it once and it's good for 10 years. So if you know that all you ever want is Hope Scholarship or Zell Miller Scholarship and you don't want to have to fill out a FAFSA every year, you can do that GSF app and then you are set for your time at KSU.
We also strongly encourage students to go ahead and complete it because you'd be surprised or amazed how many students actually forget to file the FAFSA. And so August rolls around and you've already got that GSF app on file, that we can at least process your Hope or Zell Miller
Right.
pretty
fail
quickly.
safe.
It is
Yeah.
a fail
It's
A
safe.
fail-safe.
backup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Safety
yeah.
plan.
Yeah. And Sarah, I do like that you answered the question from Karen instead of letting Karen answer. I was really hoping Karen would jump in.
That Karen would answer
Did you
Karen.
submit that from home, like timed it, like send at 12:22, you know?
It would have been awesome if I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, we're good. I think there's one, I love that financial aid ends up being a lot of buzzwords, right? That people are, sometimes it's a little scary.
Right.
And they want to know what these things are. So one of those buzzwords is verification. So can we clearly define what is verification? What does a student have to do if they're selected for verification? Where do they do it? All that kind of stuff.
Sure. So verification is a process that the Department of Education chooses your FAFSA. You're the winner. To verify some information that you put on there. Roughly, they say it's around 30% of our students that are selected for verification. We've seen over the last few years the numbers are a bit lower, that it's not quite 30%. So, and you can complete it all online. We have a great secure portal via AliExpress where you can upload documents. And so if you're a dependent student and your parents' information's on your FAFSA, you're going to be asked to fill out what's called a verification form. And it asks for the number in household and the number in college. So how many people are living in your house and how many are in college. And then could potentially ask for your tax forms. If you use that wonderful process that pulls your data from the IRS, you won't have to do anything but that worksheet that shows the number in household and the number in college. If you entered your tax data, then you upload the information from your taxes as well.
Do you have any idea, this is more of my own personal question, right? Do you have any idea the percentage of people that do use the IRS lookup tool versus those that don't? I'm just curious.
It's gone up.
Yeah.
And currently, there are some people that can't use it. It's not
sure.
designed for
Sure.
some situations, but supposedly for 24-25, they're going to fix the rest of that so that most everybody can use the data retrieval
Got it.
process. It really is pretty easy. If you filed your taxes, probably not with an extension, but if you filed your taxes, because you're using your 2021 taxes to fill out the 23-24 FAFSA. It really is as much as, you enter a few steps, click a button, and it just pulls it all in from the IRS, and you're done. And you hit submit, and you're done with your FAFSA. So
Right.
it's a nice process if you can use it.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Anytime I'm talking about FAFSA, I recommend using the
Yeah.
IRS lookup tool. Usually, what I'm telling parents, and usually it's at some sort of like high school night, is, hey, the government already knows everything.
Right.
So you're not giving them information they don't already know. So use it. It's easier. I know we did that with our oldest daughter. Yeah, it just made it so much simpler when submitting the FAFSA. So, okay, very good, great. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the scholarship in general process at KSU. Can you give a good overview for folks out there? Maybe they haven't encountered it yet. Maybe they're sophomores, juniors in high school. We may even have transfer students that are on here that are interested in the scholarship process.
Well, we use a portal called Scholarship Universe. You can access it from our website. You do have to be an admitted student to be able to utilize that. So we have our internal application, and then it also serves as an external search engine. For our internal application, actually, and the external, the more questions you answer, the better. So answer as many questions, at least get through the first page of questions. But the more you answer, the more scholarships it can actually match you to. Because some of the questions, even in our institutional scholarships, are a little bit more obscure.
Right.
So it wouldn't necessarily be about, have you taken this particular class? Or basically, what are your interests and things like that. But as you stated before, the internal application closes on March 1. But the external is actually ongoing. And the great thing about Scholarship Universe is that every scholarship that's external is actually vetted. So Scholarship Universe has gone through and made sure that that is truly, truly a legitimate scholarship that actually exists, that people have received in the past, before it'll link you to it. And so it'll tell you at the end all of the different scholarships that you match to. It'll even tell you what you were a partial match to. So if you're a partial match, and you may need to answer one or two more questions to see if you actually match up to it. It'll tell you,
Nice.
if you answer these, We
Yeah.
can tell you if you match up. And then it'll give you links to all of the external scholarships. But for the internal, it's just a one-stop shop.
How quickly is it doing the matching? Is it? I mean, it's like
Real
immediate.
time.
Real
yeah,
time.
Yeah. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Do you see a ticker like go? You have 5, 10,
Right.
100.
Yeah, at the
scholarships.
top. Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
could, yeah. See, okay, cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I know computers, algorithms, wonderful stuff.
Yes.
Technology. For some of those external scholarships, what's it like for the student? They fill out Scholarship Universe. They see, okay, internally, I may qualify for these or could be considered for these externally. You know, what's their? I mean, I'm sure it depends on the scholarship, the corporation or whomever is offering that award. But what's kind of the typical process like for an external scholarship?
So for the external scholarship, once it matches you, it'll give you information about the criteria of it and then actually give you a link so that you can go to that entity's website and actually complete that application process. And then if you are selected for that scholarship, we basically get a notification. You tell them where you want the money sent, and we get a notification that that funding is coming. I will say that our external scholarship, our receipt of external scholarships has actually gone up pretty exponentially since we onboarded Scholarship Universe. I mean,
you told me a wild number, and I feel like this was some time ago. It might have been 6, 8 months ago, but the millions of dollars more that that students are receiving now because of Scholarship Universe. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I remember reading the email being kind of mind blown by it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's almost $2 million more that we're receiving.
That's awesome.
It is.
Yeah,
It really,
it's
really
fantastic,
is.
right? Because that's such a daunting process. I mean, back in my day, right, it was go into the counselor's office, look at a physical book, and that's what I think a lot of the parents are dealing with is they're thinking it's still the same. You're going to go in and here's this giant book that looks like a phone book, and you're searching through, for that left-handed scholarship and whatever. I'm not left-handed. But my oldest daughter is, so we were definitely looking for some of those. Some of the things we'd always heard about. Where's that left-handed scholarship?
Right.
Please. And probably like $200, but whatever. $200 is $200. And it's not like that anymore, right? I mean, that's what's so wild about Scholarship Universe. It really takes a lot of the guessing out for
It does.
students, which I think is again one of those wonderful barriers y'all have removed for students and for families. So it's good to hear that. Questions? Anything? No? Okay, cool. So we're almost to the deadline, right? March 1st is coming up. When is really the right time? This is probably the wrong way to ask this, but after a student is packaged, how easy is it for them to talk to their financial aid counselor? Can they set up a virtual appointment? Do they need to come in person? Call on the phone? Like, what are the options for them?
All of the
above.
all of the above.
Anything I didn't mention?
No, we try to make it really easy for you to get the information you need. So reach out. We can do it virtually. You don't have to come on campus. We will meet with you if you want to meet in person. That's fine too. And we will try to do as much as we can over the phone when we can verify who we're talking to. So we do have some steps we have to make sure that we're not disclosing anything we can't disclose, but we will meet with you however you want to meet. You want to meet virtually, we will send you a link and we will be available when you need us. So
Nice. Okay. There's one thing I forgot to talk about with Scholarship Universe. You have some info sessions coming up
We do.
about scholarships. I don't know if we've posted the dates. I love it. Thank you, Emily. So you've got quite a few dates coming up for folks. What can families and students expect during one of these info sessions?
Well, they typically are pretty small, so you can expect what you need. So the team is basically built to walk you through the process, to answer any questions you have, or to help you with anything that you're coming across that you don't understand. They're there for you and to answer your questions, specifically your questions. So while they'll give you some general information and some tips and some tricks, that's a great opportunity to have a candid audience with someone who can actually help you.
Nice. How do they sign up for these info sessions? Is there an online link on the financial aid
There should be,
website?
yeah.
yeah, it's a Teams link, so it's virtually. So you can log in virtually and then sit in on one of those sessions.
Nice. You want me to throw out the dates? Because I know the
Sure.
dates.
Yes.
Just for giggles, right?
Yeah.
It's this time, which is great. We actually just turned into 12:30. So the sessions, Tuesday, February the 7th, 12:30 to 1. Wednesday, February the 15th, 12:30 to 1. So the end of, eat your lunch the first 30 minutes and then figure out your money the other 30 minutes. Tuesday, February 21st, 12:30 to 1 as well. So that's great. You got a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Tuesday here in February leading up until March the 1st. That's wonderful. Thank you all for offering these sessions. I hope tons of people out there join in and ask really good questions.
We do
Mainly
too.
just get the answers to the questions that they've got. So that's awesome. Okay, let's see. What's maybe something in your world that we haven't talked about? Something that you feel like students struggle with, and you need to make sure they know, hey, we got you, or families. What's one thing we haven't talked about yet? Anything?
Well, I think when they get here, one of the things that students don't always understand is that your academics is actually tied to your financial aid.
That's a good one.
And so not just with the Hope Scholarship, but also with federal aid. And there are so many resources on this campus to help our students. We have tutoring, we have our academic advising, and so there are a lot of academic resources here so that a student, if they feel like they're struggling, even if you just come to us and say, hey, I feel like I'm struggling, we can at least point you in the right direction, because we don't want you to lose that aid. And that's incredibly important because we do have to look at students for something called satisfactory academic progress, and this is looking at their GPA and how many courses they're completing. So there has to be a completion rate, and there has to be a GPA requirement for things. And so it's so important for students to get ahead of that, and if they feel like they're struggling, to reach out immediately, because most of the people on this campus know how to at least set you up with the right person. Even if we're not the right person, we know how to set you up with the right person. And so that's one of the things that I think is incredibly important. And then managing work-life balance while you are on campus. I mean, so a lot of our students will work. We strongly encourage students to do the federal work-study program. This is where you would actually work on campus, and you can work in a department or in one of the offices. And when you are working on a college campus, these people are much more apt to be helpful when it's time for exams. Like they understand, okay, now's the time that you actually need to be studying for your exams. And that leeway and that leniency of like, okay, this is important for you, and that understanding. It's not you have to be here at 10 and then you don't get to leave until whenever. And so I think that's incredibly important, and it helps students get connected to campus. Nationally, I believe the graduation rate amongst students who do federal work study is 80-something%?
Much higher,
Yeah, it's much higher than the average student. And so if you've got to work here.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great way to say it. Do you have that slogan on your website?
I should.
Yeah,
I
come
don't.
on,
we
Karen.
Should add that.
Yeah.
We should
Add that. If you got to work here.
Yeah.
I love it. And then link to the federal work study
Right.
like application and section. So you've brought up some things, and I want to actually bring Emily in if she's willing to talk, because I've heard her talk about some of these things as well. Like being a student and also working for your institution, what has that been like for you? And is it true? I mean, of course, now you're gonna have to say it, but what kind of flexibility have you been given as a student that is also working at the institution you're attending?
Yeah, so I have worked, I'm a senior here at KSU, and I've worked for KSU since my freshman year. So I was a tour guide for a year, about a year. I was student assistant for a year in the lead brand ambassador position, then a part-time social media coordinator for a year, and then I actually just went full-time back in December. So it is, thank you. It is kind of, if you love it, it is a funnel, and it does connect you with people who you can get you a full-time job in the future if you're interested. Flexibility-wise, KSU knows that you're a student first. and they prioritize that. They prioritize your education, but then they're also there to support you and give you a paycheck. So it's a really cool thing. I didn't do federal work study, but I just worked through the school, and I've loved it. And now I'm a full-time employee, so it worked out for me.
And graduating soon, yeah?
Yes, graduate in May. So.
That's right. Who to who?
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm gonna do a shameless self plug.
Yeah, please do.
CPD, Career Planning and Development, is doing the UP conference this week, and I'm actually speaking about my experience working for KSU.
That's cool.
On Thursday.
Oh.
So Thursday at 11.
Fabulous.
Oh, very good.
Very good.
We know you're going to do a great job. That's awesome.
Awesome.
I know it's wild to me. You mentioned something about students and resources here on campus, and us helping you, especially if you're working on campus. You're around these professionals that are doing this full time, and we can plug you in to the places, whether it's nuanced or it's broad, like going to visit the writing center for help. But it's just spending time around us, around staff, around the faculty. You find out about all these little resources. I can't tell you how many times we've had tour guides and folks that work in the admissions office say, "Wow, I didn't even know we had this until I learned about it because of my job."
Right.
And it's true. I mean, because some of it gets lost in the mix when you have 300 plus student organizations and you have all these resources, whether it be academic advising, tutoring centers, career planning and development, so on and so forth. You get a little lost in the mix of, okay, who do I start with? And sometimes it might be the financial aid counselor that's the one that helps you academically.
Right.
Sometimes it might be the academic advisor, which is the place I'd really recommend you to go. You're a current student, talk to your academic advisor. I like to think of advisors as maybe financial aid, or they're your money people, your financial consultants. Your academic advisor is like your everyday buddy. Like, hey, like I would do with my best friend. Hey, man, I need a little help with this. Let me talk through it with you. That's your academic advisor, right? And we try to do that on the admissions side, on the front end, as you're preparing to go to the institution. We want to be your buddies. We want to help answer some of those questions for you. So that's great. Any questions? Okay, we're cool. Anything else we didn't talk about? I think we've covered it all.
I think we've covered
This has been
most everything.
super smooth. Y'all are wonderful. That's why it's super smooth. I love to do this, but what's the one last thing you want to leave people with? What's one reminder, piece of advice? What's the one thing? And you both have to answer.
I'm ready.
Okay, I want to go
For me,
first because you
you're-
might take
for me.
mine.
If you are a Georgia resident and you're graduating from a Georgia high school, please use gafutures.org
Yes.
to check your HOPE GPA, because that is the same resource that we use to see if you're eligible for HOPE or Zell Miller. And inevitably, there may be an issue with your social security number or your date of birth or something like that. And if you've never gone out there to look, you're not going to find that until we're calling you saying, hey, we have a problem. So if you go ahead and check that now and make sure you can see all your information, then odds are we will be able to see everything too, and there won't be any problems once you get here.
Nice.
Okay, so I'll have two now.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Read your emails from us.
Oh, yes.
That's
That
Um,
too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we're not going to email you unless we really need something from you.
And where are they getting that email? What email is that going
That
to?
is going to their KSU email account.
Got it. Bingo.
And-
Check your Kennesaw email address.
And if you do not understand something, this is number two, reach out to your financial aid counselor.
Right.
I mean, we have a phenomenal group of counselors who are actually really dedicated to helping the students. I mean, people work here because they want to help our students succeed. And this is an amazing group of people who are there to answer your questions and to help you through the process. And there are times where things are just complicated.
Right.
Yeah, love it. One more plug from me. Please join the scholarship info sessions that are coming up here in February. So link to sign up there, available here in the chat as well as on the financial aid website, probably in your emails too. So check your emails because I'm sure you got them there as well, your Kennesaw email address for our admitted students that are out there. So sign up, ask questions. Again, that's where you get to talk to these wonderful folks and get the real answers directly from them. And then also remember March 1st, FAFSA deadline. Get your FAFSA in if you haven't done it already. And then also Scholarship Universe, our internal application closes after March the 1st. So get that in, and then the external side, like Karen said, will still be open. So a couple of things to do here in February. Not bad, right?
Right.
February, financial aid, think about it that way, right?
Exactly.
Money Monday, February, financial aid February, whatever. That works.
Yeah.
That's the one.
We'll take that.
Financial aid February. So now's the time to do it, right? Now's the time before, if you're in high school, you're a senior, or your student's a senior, before you get into
Right.
prom season
Yeah.
and all the things that happen at the end of the year with graduation and all this kind of, and you're signing up for orientation and housing and those things. This is a great time to
Right.
do everything you need to do with financial aid. So please do it. As they've said, please reach out to them if you have questions. Their website is super easy to read, easily laid out. Find your financial aid counselor really easily and reach out to them. So thank y'all so much for being with us on, what did I call this thing? Money Monday, College Money Monday.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you spending your lunchtime with us. If you have questions, post them in the chat, and we'll still be answering them after the session's over. But please reach out to financial aid with anything else that you need. And y'all know how I love to close it. We give a nice allies and hooty hoo and tell everybody bye bye. So will you do it with me?
Sure.
Okay. Hooty hoo, everybody.
Hooty
Hooty
hoo.
hoo.